We need to stop being politically correct. We need to be honest. We need to have integrity. We need to be willing to stand up and say, this is what I stand for. Like the gentleman here, John, mentioned Thomas More. He was willing to take the risk of having his head cut off because he believed in something. Thomas More was one of the greatest men on the face of the earth because he was willing to do that. Politically correct did not apply to Thomas More. And in Freemasonry, we teach that morality is a science. How do you know where you're going? Who are you going to trust to tell you how to get there? Morality is a science. You know what scientists do? They have rules that they use when they conduct experiments. If they don't pay attention to the rules, their experiments don't work out. Our experiments are our lives. We must follow those rules. That tells us how to get where we're going. The Masonic Rosicrucians, some of us have been asking questions. What is that relationship between Freemasonry and the Rosicrucians? Well, for me, Christianity is a private belief, but the cross that Christ died on was the tree of life. Jesus Christ was the human embodiment of the tree of life. On a cross, there are 4 points, the 4 natural elements. We have that right here. The line between that chair and this one in the east, and this chair here, that one there. We have a cross. It's natural. This happens to be a Masonic Lodge. And the chairs in the Masonic Lodge, you can see one over here with this gentleman sitting on it. There's an empty one. There are 2 that belong back here. Each one of those is positioned in the exact arrangement as the points on the tree of life, on the Kabbalah.
He's giving away too many secrets. I have to cut him off right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we only have a couple more questions because we got the week as well.
Oh, yeah.
One comment that I would make from youth to youth, and as a member of an esoteric order and someone who has been on the path for a very long time, you do not need to take power. You do not need to go and grab wisdom. You don't need to go find and grasp onto the truth. What you need to recognize is that the only thing that's important is what is within. That it's only through a conversation with yourself that you can discover the power within, that you can discover the wisdom within. And once you have done that, you have to make a very conscious decision how to use that power. If you intend to use it, then understand and think hard about all consequences, all intended and unintended consequences. And that sort of highlights what Most Worshipful Frater John Paternoster said, that when you engage in this sort of magical practice, do it for yourself. Don't do it for anyone else. Yes, you are bombarded by many different influences in life, but you have the choice to engage with those influencers or not. You have the choice to make a decision for yourself whether you will accept those influences into your life or not. It is not up to anyone else. Do not let anybody force you to do something that you know is not true within yourself. Make a choice, but don't let anybody tell you something that you know yourself to be untrue. Trust yourself, and don't believe anything anyone else says. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to return back to the panel. As John? Okay.
Deal and Fortune said that unless you can reduce something to the absolute practical level, then you haven't understood it. Now, societies at the present time are so different to societies that were. You see, societies that were always had a major war. In Europe, we always had a major war. I'm of a generation that has never seen war. I'm of a generation which now is the beginning of everybody demanded everything immediately. And sadly, that does not happen. Warren Kenton, when he was asked about studying the mysteries, and reflected on the Jewish principle that you should not study them below the age of 40. Now, that is not because they're old men. I'm an old man, I know. But that was because you had to actually have lived a life. You have to embody the basic principles of the tree. You have to have created your own territory. You have to be self-sufficient. You have to have procreated. You have to have done all of the vegetable and all of the animal functions before you have any foundation of which to go forward. Because of the immediacy which we expect of things, there are many, of course, who would be quite able of reading every book on aviation that's going. But would you put your faith in him to fly the plane? Answer, no. So whilst, and I sound terribly old-fashioned here, and I do apologize, even cold water as well. So whilst we all want to actually do it and get there, what contribution can we make without experience? Not a lot. And so whilst there is the urge to study all of things, it has to be done on a four-square foundation. Research. Ask everything, but you have to go through, as Shakespeare, you have to go through all the ages of man. You have to ascend the various sephirot on the tree as you grow. You can't shortcut. If you do shortcut, you will be sent back to the sephirot that you have missed. It's true. You can see this happening with people who have missed out on, I don't know, education, missed out on love or whatever. They always go back. You can learn from your countries. All countries go through the 7 ages of man. Some countries are adolescent. You know, like the cowboy. I'll fist you one. Some countries are old. We all go through all this growing up and growing old. We all have to. And whilst I agree with everything that has been said, and I admire the enthusiasm, go for it. You'd be first class in Warren Kenton's group, I promise you. You'd be there as a real pupil. But I have to just add the cold water. You have to have experience. And when I reflect in England on you have people who come out of university and they're going to stand to be a member of Parliament. Oh, great. So what experience of life have they got? Nothing at all. And you need experience. And unfortunately, and I'm sorry, it takes years. You can never put an old head on young shoulders. But on the other hand, no one can give you the enthusiasm which you have, which I admire. And I wish when I was your age, I had had that same enthusiasm. I didn't. I'd still got my head in the sand. But like any packet of seeds you sow, it doesn't matter whether you sow them in February, March, or April. They'll all germinate, they'll all flower at the same time, they all catch up. So whereas you might think, I'm wasting all these years when I could be doing this, believe you me, when your time comes to flower, all these years of learning.
We got a finger pointing here? Okay.
Gentlemen of the different societies, in your teachings, do you have a place for meditation? Because when you mention experience, that is probably a very, very deep experience, just plain meditation.
Yes, the answer is yes. And in any work